The photographer had just positioned us for family portraits when my mother stepped forward, hands clasped dramatically. "Before we continue," Mom announced to the assembled wedding party of 60 people, "I need to address something important. Something that affects our family's future." I felt my new husband Nathan's hand tighten on mine. We'd been married for exactly 2 hours. "Nathan's parents have established a trust fund for the newlyweds," Mom continued, her voice carrying across the garden. "A very generous $650,000 trust fund. While I appreciate their generosity, I believe we need to discuss redistribution." My stomach dropped. We'd told my parents about the trust yesterday in private, explicitly asking them to keep it confidential until Nathan and I decided how to announce it. "My daughter Heather is struggling," Mom said, gesturing to my sister who stood nearby in her bridesmaid dress. "She's a single mother with 2 children, working 2 jobs just to survive." Meanwhile, Diana and Nathan are both established professionals with excellent incomes. They don't need this money the way Heather does. The garden fell silent except for the fountain trickling nearby. Mom smiled at Nathan's parents. "So I'm insisting that the trust fund be transferred to help your poor sister. It's the right thing to do. The Christian thing to do. Family takes care of family." Heather stepped forward, adjusting her bouquet. "Mom's right. It's just money, Diana. You don't need it. I actually do." "Don't be difficult about this." I looked at Nathan. He looked at me. Then he looked past my shoulder and gave the slightest nod. A man in a gray suit stepped forward from where he'd been standing discreetly near the reception tent. "Excuse me, Mrs. Hartford. I'm going to need you to stop talking immediately." Mom turned, startled. "Who are you?" "Gerald Morrison, a state attorney for the Morrison Family Trust," he said calmly. "I've been retained specifically to handle situations like this." He pulled a document from his briefcase. "This is the trust instrument establishing the Diana and Nathan Morrison Family Trust. It was executed yesterday at 3 p.m., filed with the appropriate courts, and is now irrevocable. The trust cannot be modified, transferred, or accessed by anyone except Diana and Nathan Morrison." "That's unnecessarily complicated," Mom said, waving her hand dismissively. "This is a family matter. We can work this out among ourselves." "No, Mrs. Hartford," Gerald said. "What you just did was not working something out. What you did was publicly announce your intention to misappropriate $650,000 in trust assets. That's attempted theft and fraud." The photographer had stopped taking pictures. Guests were staring. My Uncle Mark pulled out his phone and started recording. "This is ridiculous," Heather said. "She's my sister, why shouldn't she help me?" Gerald turned to her. "Miss Hartford, do you know what your sister and brother-in-law do for a living?" "Diana's a doctor and Nathan's in finance," Heather said with an eye roll. "Exactly. They have plenty of money." "Diana is a pediatric oncologist," Gerald corrected. "She spent 11 years in medical school, residency, and fellowship. She has $340,000 in student loan debt. Nathan is a financial analyst who grew up in foster care and put himself through college working 3 jobs. They both earned their positions through extraordinary effort." He pulled out another document. "What do you do, Miss Hartford?" "I'm a single mother. You work part-time at a boutique 20 hours a week," Gerald interrupted. "You receive $2,400 monthly in child support, which you've consistently spent on personal shopping rather than your children's needs. Your Instagram shows trips to Vegas, designer purchases, and spa days. In the past year alone, you've spent $31,000 on non-essential luxury items." Heather's face went red. "How do you know that?" "Because when Nathan told me about your family dynamics, I did my due diligence," Gerald said. "You're not struggling. You're mismanaging money and expecting your sister to subsidize your lifestyle." He turned back to Mom. Mom's confident expression faltered. "Those were gifts." "They were coerced transfers," Gerald corrected. "I have text messages, emails, and voicemails documenting systematic financial exploitation. Every time Diana tried to set boundaries, she was told she was selfish, forgetting her family, or abandoning her sister's children." Nathan's mother, Patricia, stood up from her seat. She was a striking woman in her 60s who'd built a commercial real estate empire from nothing. When she spoke, people listened. "I need to clarify something," Patricia said, her voice carrying authority. "Before we established this trust, Diana came to us.
I'd like to speak with you briefly. Just a few words. Judge Morrison sighed. Ms. Wright, this isn't a television show. You don't get dramatic last-minute speeches. Not a speech, I said, a phrase. 2 words. He looked annoyed but curious. You may approach. I walked to the bench. The courtroom was completely silent. Cassandra watched with barely concealed triumph. Susan Walsh looked confused. I leaned close to Judge Morrison and spoke quietly, just loud enough for him to hear. Operation Crimson Tide. Judge Morrison's hand froze on his papers. Excuse me, he said, his voice suddenly different. Operation Crimson Tide, I repeated. Arctic Station. Authorization November 7. The color drained from Judge Morrison's face. He stared at me for a long moment, then stood abruptly. This court is in recess, he said. 30 minutes. Ms. Wright Lauren. Wright, please follow me to my chambers. Immediately. Your Honor. Pemberton stood. What's happening? Recess, Judge Morrison repeated. Do not leave the courthouse. He walked quickly toward his chambers. I followed. Behind me, I heard Cassandra say, what just happened? Judge Morrison's chambers were cramped and lined with law books. He closed the door behind me and turned, his stern judicial demeanor completely gone. Who are you? Asked Lauren. Elizabeth Wright, Lieutenant Commander United States Navy. Intelligence Division. Retired. Jesus Christ, he said. He sat down heavily. Crimson Tide. That operation was classified above my clearance level. I only knew the name because I was JAG during the preliminary hearings. How do you know that name? I was there, I said simply, part of the intelligence team that conducted the Arctic surveillance. We identified the listening posts, gathered the evidence. I spent 11 months on a submarine under the ice cap. Judge Morrison put his head in his hands. Why didn't you say something earlier? Because my service record is classified. Because I can't tell people where I was or what I was doing. Because I was on a nuclear submarine gathering intelligence on foreign surveillance stations is on something I can just announce in open court. Your grandmother is Sight Slowley. She knew. She was Navy herself, World War II. Worked in communications at Pearl Harbor. She understood operational security better than most active duty officers. That's why you couldn't visit. Some years I was on submarines. Some years I was at listening posts, so remote they don't appear on maps. Some years I was doing things I still can't talk about even though I'm retired. Grandmother understood. She never questioned it. Judge Morrison stood and walked to his window. Your sister has no idea. No one does. My service record is sealed. Even after retirement, I can't disclose most of what I did. Naval intelligence doesn't really do retirement parties. How did your grandmother die? He asked. Heart failure, peacefully, in her sleep. She was 90. She'd lived a full life. And she left everything equally between you and your sister. Yes. Why? I pulled a letter from my jacket pocket. She left this for me, with her attorney, sealed, to be opened only if the will was contested. I handed it to Judge Morrison. He read it carefully. My dearest Lauren, if you're reading this, Cassandra is fighting for the estate. I expected she might. She's always valued money over meaning. Don't let her win by default. She was here, physically. Yes. She brought me groceries and drove me to appointments and managed my medications. But you, my darling girl, you were serving our country, doing the work I did 70 years ago, carrying on a family tradition of service that Cassandra never understood. I never needed daily care. I was healthy until the very end. Cassandra chose to be here because she wanted to secure her inheritance. You chose to serve because that's who you are. The house, the money, it's all divided equally because I loved you both equally. But I respected you more. Tell the truth, if you must. Your service was more important than her care. With all my love, Grandmother, Eleanor. Judge Morrison finished reading and carefully refolded the letter. This is authenticated, signed, dated, witnessed by her attorney. Your sister really had no idea about your service. I told her I worked for the State Department. Told everyone that it's a common cover for intelligence work. She thought I was some mid-level bureaucrat pushing papers in embassies. And you let her think that operational security required it. Judge Morrison walked back to his desk. You understand that even with this information, I can't just rule in your favor. Your sister did provide care. She has documentation. I understand. But I call you and in good conscience award everything to her when you were serving on a nuclear submarine. He paused. I assume you can provide some verification of your service. Beyond operational code names. I pulled out my phone and opened a secure document. This is my DD-214. Discharge papers.
I should have done it years ago, I said. The wedding continued. We took new family photos, just Nathan's side and a few of my extended family members who stayed. My Aunt Linda, Mom's sister, pulled me aside. Your mother has been financially abusing you for years, she said bluntly. I've watched it happen. I'm sorry I didn't speak up before. But I'm proud of you for standing up to her now. She's going to tell everyone I'm a horrible daughter, I said. Let her, Aunt Linda replied. Those of us who matter know the truth. The reception was beautiful. The attempted theft became the elephant in the room that somehow made everything feel lighter. Guests kept coming up to congratulate us, not just on the marriage, but on the boundaries. I've been dealing with something similar with my brother, one of Nathan's colleagues said quietly. Watching you two handle that gave me courage. Thank you. 3 days into our honeymoon in Bali, my phone had 167 missed calls. All from my mother's number or Heather's. I blocked both. Then the emails started. Mom sent 17 in one day, ranging from apologetic to angry to manipulative. I'm sorry if I upset you, but I'm still your mother. You're destroying this family over money. Your sister's children will suffer because of your selfishness. I sacrificed everything to raise you, and this is how you repay me. I forwarded them all to Gerald, who had given me his contact information with explicit instructions to document everything. This is harassment, Gerald said when I called. And it's building our case. Keep forwarding them. Don't respond. When we returned from our honeymoon, a lawsuit was waiting. Mom and Heather were suing for their share of the trust fund, claiming verbal promises and family obligation. Gerald read the complaint and actually laughed. This is legally nonsense. There are no grounds for this suit. But we'll respond, and we'll countersue for harassment and defamation. The countersuit was filed within a week. We were seeking $500,000 in damages for attempted theft and fraud, harassment and emotional distress. Defamation. Mom had posted on Facebook claiming we'd stolen family money. Legal fees, punitive damages. Their attorney withdrew within a month when he realized how baseless their case was. They ended up with a public defender who looked exhausted before the hearing even started. The judge, Honorable Maria Santos, reviewed the evidence, the recordings, the text messages, the financial records of the $127,000 I'd already given them, the trust documents, and looked at my mother with undisguised contempt. Mrs. Hartford, she said, I've been a judge for 23 years. This is one of the most egregious cases of family financial exploitation I've seen. You systematically manipulated your daughter for money, then attempted to steal a trust fund at her wedding. Your lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. You're forbidden from filing any future suits against the defendants regarding this trust. She turned to me and Nathan. Your countersuit proceeds. I'm recommending you seek maximum damages. The countersuit settled 6 months later. My mother and sister couldn't afford a trial. They agreed to pay $75,000 over 10 years, everything they could scrape together, and signed a permanent contact prohibition agreement. They couldn't call, text, email, or approach us. They couldn't post about us on social media. They couldn't contact our employers or friends. Violation meant immediate arrest and a $50,000 penalty per incident. It's not the full amount, Gerald said, but it's substantial enough to hurt. And the contact prohibition is ironclad. A year after the wedding, Nathan and I used part of the trust fund to pay off my student loans. The entire $340,000 gone in one payment. For the first time in 11 years, I was debt-free. We used more of the trust to buy a house. Nothing extravagant, a 3-bedroom with a yard, but it was ours. The rest stayed invested, growing steadily, protected by trustees and legal structures that made it impossible for anyone to access without our explicit consent. I ran into Heather 2 years after the wedding in a grocery store. We both froze. She looked older, harder. "You destroyed our family," she said quietly. "You tried to steal from me at my wedding," I replied. "I protected myself. That's all. Mom's health isn't good." "The stress from all this, the stress from getting caught," I interrupted. "She created this situation." "I didn't." "You could drop the contact prohibition," Heather said. "Let us be family again." "Why?" I asked. "So you can keep asking for money? So Mom can keep manipulating me." "What's changed, Heather? Have you gotten a full-time job? Have you stopped spending your child support on luxury items? Has Mom stopped thinking she's entitled to everything I earn?" Heather looked away. "That's what I thought," I said. "I'm not interested in rebuilding a relationship where I'm just your ATM. If that makes me a bad sister, I can live with that." I walked away. She didn't follow. 3 years after the wedding, I received a letter from Mom, sent through Gerald's office to avoid violating the contact order. "Diana, I'm writing because I'm sick. The doctors say it's serious, and I need to make peace before it's too late. What I did at your wedding was wrong. I see that now. I've spent 3 years losing you, and I finally understand that I lost you because of my own greed and manipulation. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry." Mom, I read the letter 5 times. Then I showed it to Nathan. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "Nothing," I said. "She's sorry because she's sick, not because she understands what she did. This is her trying to feel better before she dies. It's still about her." "That's fair," Nathan said. I never responded to the letter. They demanded my trust fund go to my struggling sister. They'd announced it at my wedding in front of witnesses, thinking I'd cave to public pressure. They'd learned that I had an estate attorney, a fortress trust structure, and the willingness to protect what was mine. They'd tried to sue, they'd lost. They'd been ordered to pay damages and stay away permanently. The trust fund was mine and Nathan's. We used it to eliminate debt, buy a home, and build a future. We used it exactly as intended for us. Not for a sister who'd rather buy designer purses than work full-time. Not for a mother who viewed my success as her entitlement. Not for a family that saw me as a resource instead of a person. The trust fund represented more than money. It represented boundaries, protection, the right to keep what was ours. And I've never regretted fighting for it. Not once.